Justice League Dark issue 4 is the next part in the Witching Hour. James Tynion the fourth and Alvaro Martinez on the art, who of course has been the regular artist on Dark. So he's just doing his regular book basically, while everyone else is doing the other issues. So yeah, they go off to Nana Parbat, and there's a giant goddess demon battle thing happening in the sky.
Yeah, you have Hecate versus Ramatut. Wait,
Ramakrishna.
Ramakrishna.
Krishna, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
Ramatut's another thing
and
from
we
comics.
and we get the big magical, Wonder Woman arm cross coming in to save the
Yeah,
day.
that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. I will admit, I like this is where I kind of tune out a little bit with the magic stuff. Is when it just cuts to like Nana Parbat and there's this giant Krishna in the sky, like as a big spirit thing.
Yeah, see, I like that from it might be because of 52. Like I like Nanda Parbat and the whole Batman story.
Oh yeah, I mean that's
And
cool, but
also, but yeah, it's the magic-y stuff. I don't want to say it's losing me, but I'm just kind of like, all right, which brand? Cool. I don't know what else to do with this right now.
I'll be
No?
honest. I feel like that's a stretch beyond the number of issues it needs to be.
Yep, me too. I feel like we're in a holding pattern.
Yeah, I felt like not really. I mean, I know it's like sort of big and spectacle and whatnot, but a lot of this was just kind of the fighting between the forces and a little bit here or there. The interesting stuff was the fact that they've sent the Black Orchid to go and kill the Parliament of Trees, and Swamp Thing's
That was
feeling
pretty
pain.
cool.
And I'm like, and I had to actually look up who that specific character was because I didn't know who it was, and she was a New
She was in
52
Justice League
character.
Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I might have seen her in that book, but I couldn't remember her.
Yeah, she blends in and out, but so I like that a lot. It definitely this issue gave me a Dave Judgment feel. The old John story where Spectre is trying to
Hmm.
destroy magic throughout the DCU. This kind of feels like a new version of that. So, but this time you have Hecate trying to take it over.
Yeah.
Um, but
Um, obviously the art was good because it was Martinez who's been doing a good job
yeah.
in the book anyway. But I mean, I'll say it. This is easily my least favorite issue of Justice League Dark so far.
Oh, I still think the last one was like Justice League Dark. You're not talking about the Witching Hour.
Not about which just Justice League Dark.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to argue there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. The
so
best
definitely
issue.
feels like part of the crossover.
Yeah, the best part of
Yeah,
the crossover is definitely the first one. I think.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
They kicks
uh,
it all off.
But I don't know. It felt like it was almost stalling for some of the issue, and then the cliffhanger. They obviously okay. This is what the end of the issue is the power taking control of Diana, right? Hecate is taking control, and I'm like, okay, that's fine as a cliffhanger, but I feel like that could have just been a cliffhanger last issue. We could have
Yeah,
just done that then.
yeah. Instead of the whole Cersei thing,
Yeah, and the
we're
Cersei
not.
stuff was fun. It wasn't like it was
Yeah,
bad. It
but
was just
where it left last time was Cersei's like, oh, we're gonna use this power against Hecate. That's like, oh, I have a flood. I'm gonna throw more water at it. Like that doesn't seem to make sense. Uh, and I
yeah.
think Detective Chip says something along those lines. So Man Bat continues to be charming. I still like
I like Man
his
Bat.
just like
I
uh, we got the Dead Men, which that was a cool concept. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Where you have these monks in Nanda Parbat
yeah.
that guard the
Uh,
gateway between life and death.
Yeah, and
And
then Kushna to escape sort of actually kind of possesses all of their bodies, like
yeah,
So that was kind of
it's pretty
interesting.
cool.
I like the start of the issue when they're leaving through the portal to go to Nana Parbat. I
Yeah,
liked that. The narration pointed out that the non-magic users were in awe of the power that Wonder Woman was wielding, but all the ones who did know magic and understood it were terrified of
yeah.
what she was doing. I like that touch because that set up kind of the stakes of what was
hmm
happening.
Well, and I
Um,
like that it's building this Zatanna versus Wonder Woman because I feel like this is building to a showdown between those two.
mm,
And I can't wait to see that because I want to see Zatanna just cut loose. Because she's low key one of my favorite, you know. I don't want to call her a B level character because I feel she's better than that, but she's never in the forefront. Like she never really has her own series that lasts more than a little bit. So seeing her be able to cut loose would be cool.
yeah. I mean, it's an okay issue. I don't want to be too down on it. Like, it's not like it's
No,
a bad.
it read's fine.
Yeah.
It felt like part whatever, and we're building like in an act structure. We're right before the third act break.
Do you know what I've noticed with DC's, like, whenever they do these crossovers, and they've done a few of them in Rebirth since we started this show, where you had, Justice League versus Suicide Squad, you had Night of the Monster Men, whatever, right? We've had a few of these things where they last about a month or so, and they're weekly, right, throughout different books. I feel like I'm noticing a big difference between them and the actual events, the actual Metal and Heroes in Crisis and stuff,
Right.
where when I feel like I get a chapter of those books, I feel like I'm getting this meaty chunk where we can sit and dissect it for a long time.
Yeah.
Whereas these weekly crossovers, I feel like we get a part of it, and it's like, okay, some stuff happened, and it kind of pushed it forward a little bit, but...
Yeah. These should be more serialized, or they feel like a chapter with its own beginning, middle, and end, because that's what the events do. But I almost feel like they don't want to take away from the events, so that's why this is just like a smaller story arc told over multiple books.
I don't know if... yeah, it could be that. I feel like it's more to do with just the fact that these this sounds harsh, but these feel a bit more rushed compared to the events, where it's just like, let's make this a little crossover instead of just the arc in the book. So instead of being 3 issues in the main book, it turns into 5 issues spread across X number of things. And
that explains why Tinian would have to decompress a little bit, and that's why the last 2 issues feel like it should have just been 1 issue, tighter.
Yeah, it felt like that to me anyway. I read this stuff. I was fine with the big stuff it set up. I was fine with the big moment with Wonder Woman with her arms. That stuff was good. But or at the very least, I'd have almost have liked more of them talking to Wonder Woman while she was in power mode. Is she acting different? Has her personality been altered by this? What's going on here? But it felt like a lot of big razzle dazzle when the meat underneath it wasn't moving as far forward.
And now we see, because she split up, Hecate split up her power into 5, and we've seen 4 of those 5 now. Because there was the first one.
We've seen 4?
That first one burned up everybody in the Oblivion Bar.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, okay. So we have seen 4.
And then the second one is Manitou Dawn, and then Black Orchid, and now Wonder Woman. So there's one more out there of these women that hold the power of Hecate. And I feel where this is going to go is they're all going to have to get together and through sisterhood or whatever, because they brought up magic is always done in a coven. So it's never just individual. So it wouldn't surprise me if something happens where Zatanna becomes that 5th person. She steals the power and she's able with her knowledge to flip it around.
Yeah, maybe. I could see something like that.
So.
Yeah,
but the pieces are emotion. It's fine. It's just it's not knocking me back.
I feel like this one will read better if you just read it in one go as a trade. Well, when this trade comes out, I think it'll read better. I think issue 2, even though it's weekly, so you're getting it quite quickly. I think issue to issue, they're not making each chapter feel like a full meal. They do the same way that the event books do, where I feel like we're getting a full thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's like where you've I've eaten all day, but I don't feel full. Versus sitting and eating a hearty meal,
Sure, yeah. If you want to keep the analogy going, sure. I think it's a solid enough issue, but it's not blown me away. I liked the first 3 issues of Justice League Dark more than I've liked this crossover so far. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see how it ends up. But
here's the thing too. With I know that the green and the red are mystical, but. So, because they're so based on the biological aspect of life, I feel they should be more science-driven. So, for magic to show up and see them as a threat, you think that's the commentary behind it?
I've always kind of thought the red and the green is less magical and more of they're both forces, and magic's also another force, right? So you got the red, the green, the rot. And then you've got magic, and then I suppose you've got the speed force, and you've got all these other wacky things.
Yeah.
But
so I felt that through this with Hecate and Swamp Thing, is it felt like she was trying to take out another form of magic, because hers is the only one. And that's why she went after the Parliament and whatnot. So, but yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So we'll obviously read Wonder Woman next week and
yeah,
get a better feel for where it's going. But I think just like a couple of these other weekly things where it's more of a very tight little thing that's happening that's spread out over a few issues, as opposed to the events that feel like these big sprawling things where all this stuff's going on. And I'm all for a more focused, compressed or decompressed story, but it feels like it's doing, rather than exploring the emotional side of the characters and what they're going through in this, it feels like it's just throwing big magic-y razzle dazzle things at me to try and sort of make it feel like there's more things happening, and it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
So
although when we do get character stuff like with Detective Chimp here, when he realizes they can teleport with the sword because he is now the Night Master, that was cool. I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know I still like Titian. So it's just an odd story to be the second, entry into Justice League Dark.
Yeah. What are we giving it then? Let's rate it.
This is a solid 7 for me. Like, the art was good. The story's decent, but I kind of just want the next chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably agree with the 7. I think the art's maybe giving it, dragging it up to the 7 though a little bit. I would have probably been more like a 6.5, I think, without the art being as good as it is.
Yeah.